What's going on, everybody? Eric up in the front, Perry in the back. We just got out of seeing X, which is written and directed by Ty West. So X is a film that I didn't watch the trailer for. I mean, I've seen snippets of it, like little teaser clips before videos and shit, but I really didn't know much about this film except to expect a kind of attempt at the old-fashioned cliched cabin in the woods horror type film. And
an homage, if you will.
Homage, there you go. And I just knowing that kind of made me a bit skeptical going into this, because I feel like, you know, what are you gonna do in this genre that's gonna, you know, keep me engaged and keep me interested in what you're doing? Because we've seen a lot of films not only, you know, tackle this genre well, but also deconstruct it, like the film Cabin in the Woods, which is one of the best horror deconstruction films ever made, in my opinion. And so, yeah, even though I was a little bit, you know, excited for it just because it's A24, I was a little bit skeptical. And coming out of it, I thought it was pretty damn good. I liked it quite a bit, and I think it did an excellent job at keeping me engaged throughout the film. And I think a lot of that may be because of the fact that even though it definitely has a lot of those cliches, it still finds a way to kind of do something a bit different that strays away from those cliches. Like, you still have a lot of those cartoony type characters in this film that you see in a lot of slasher films and Cabin in the Woods type films, but in a way it's not completely B grade. Like, this is a film that in a way is meant to be taken seriously, but also in a way it really just wants you to have fun with it. And I think it was able to kind of balance those two approaches quite well throughout the film. And yeah, I don't want to say much more because I want to give everybody else a chance, but overall I enjoyed my experience watching this. And in terms of its like aesthetic direction, I think it looks great, and there's some stylistic choices that I liked, and overall I think it holds up pretty well for what it was going for. And that's all I'll say for right now. I'll pass it on to Eric since he's in the front.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I fucking loved this movie so much. And leading up to this movie, I already had an idea that this is like a movie that's like almost tailor-made for me in terms of like having a good time with a horror. I don't know what it was. I think it's just the like presentation. I think this movie clearly takes a lot of inspiration from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like specifically. I mean, I think it really
there were some shots that were almost straight out of Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, they were.
Absolutely. And not only Texas Chainsaw, but just the grindhouse kind of aesthetic in general. Yeah. And while I'll say that like this movie doesn't like turn the genre on its head like Cabin in the Woods, I think this is just a really fun, great time as a horror film. The characters aren't like super delved deep, but I don't think they need to be. I think all of them had really good characterization, and I found none of them like insufferable. Like, are they people I want to like hang out in real life? Like, no. But in terms of like they have really great watchability in the movie, and I think that Mia Goth specifically does a really excellent job in this film.
Yeah, she plays two characters.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Insane.
I didn't know that while watching the movie. Perry just fucking blew my mind after I got done with this.
Yep.
And honestly, I think the kills and everything were really great. Honestly, I thought that they did not disappoint in terms of like the gore and slasher factor. And I just really like how they this movie definitely has elements of comedy. And for the most part, pretty much like all of it worked, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so too.
I liked how they kept cutting around and like for comedic effect, and those tense moments I found genuinely tense. Before I pass that on to Perry, the two issues or some of the issues I have with this movie is like the old people in this movie, like I could very much clearly tell like these aren't like actually old people. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I got over it after a little bit. It was distracting at first, but it's not that big of a deal. The second is sometimes the sound design would be a little weird. and only because like there's like a jump scare in this movie, and I'm like, that was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's not like all around bad. It's just like sometimes I think they really try and like push that, like, oh hey, like tension, flinch, stuff like that, like jump scare. So, but yeah, I fucking adored this movie. I thought it was a blast. Pass it on to Perry.
All right, Perry.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed X as well. I'm not like in love with the film, but I definitely enjoyed my experience. I'm actually familiar with Ty West because of VHS. He did the short Second Honeymoon, which in my opinion is fucking terrible. But he also made a movie I like called The House of the Devil, and it's been a while since I've seen it, but I thought that was a pretty solid movie. Maybe if I watch it again, I might like this one a bit more, but I would say this one is definitely more ambitious. And I will say I do like the comedy in the film, and the gore and the prosthetics were actually really well done. The one thing that did, like Eric said, you could really tell that it was not really old people. It was just young people and old people makeup. And what was weird is like when the movie needed the old people to be like more nimble and stronger than they, actually realistically would be. Because as old as the characters are, like as old as the old people are, they look like they're about to, just combust into dust, just completely evaporate into dust.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they'll have moments where it's like, how are you this strong at that age?
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I mean that popped into my mind too, to be fair.
I like the cast for the most. I really like the cast overall. I will say Mia Goth playing two characters at times, it was a bit distracting, and in terms of what the film was going for thematically, it was like a bit like on the nose, because one of the film, like I would say the big theme of this film is about the bitterness and that old people face, like when they have to face their mortality, and they have all these younger people around them that still have so much time ahead of them, and they're able to do stuff that the older people aren't, and obviously that creates a resentment, and that was kind of the big theme of the movie. But the Mia Goth playing two characters, that felt a bit on the nose. And in terms of how sex is viewed in horror movies, this film kind of turns that on its head, because typically the whole trope in horror films is, oh, if you have sex in a horror movie, you're gonna die, and it actually plays with that trope a little bit. But in terms of like how it plays with that trope, again, it was a bit too overt, a bit too on the nose, like a shot of a character removing a cross. It's like, do you get it? Symbolism.
Yeah.
I didn't really take issue. I mean, I see where you're coming from. It just didn't bother me personally.
I think it delivers more on being like a fun 70s horror homage movie than in terms of what it was trying to deal with thematically.
Yeah, I'll agree there.
Because it presents certain themes, but towards like the second half, it kind of like goes away from that and kind of abandons it, and becomes like a typical slasher. And it's like, why even present those themes if you're not going to flesh them out in a more interesting way?
Well, one thing I kind of wish is that it didn't like since this is supposed to be a film that is celebrating this kind of approach to filmmaking. I mean, not to filmmaking, but really to horror.
Why isn't it shot on film?
Well, that too. Even though they have, I'll give the film this. The film has an element to it where there are filming on film, and there's certain scenes that are presented to you as if they're filmed. So they at least have some attempt at going for the aesthetic. But overall, for me, it's like, I wish it would have been a little bit more subversive towards the second act, in terms of, not being just your typical slasher film. I mean, in some ways it is, but I feel like it kind of went kind of went too far into the kind of just fun B-grade slasher thing in the second half.
Even some of the kills weren't that creative. Like, they felt a bit too obvious to me. Like, we need this character killed off, so let's, I don't know, just shock the audience by just abruptly killing them without putting more thought into, how this character reaches its demise.
It's just tough with a film like this, because clearly it's supposed to be like a homage to that kind of stuff, so it's gonna have like those types of kills in it that like aren't like the most subversive, but they're just there for the audience to have fun with. It's just it's tough, because like for me, I personally do wish it was a little bit more subversive in the second half, but I personally didn't really mind most of the kills. Like, I thought they were a lot of fun. The gore is there. Like, if you're there to watch a fun slasher movie with the gore, I think it delivers there quite well. And there's honestly, the first kill of the film is my favorite kill of the film.
Same.
With the song from Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Oh, that was a great use.
Brilliant use of Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah, I thought that was a really like awesome, fun, and creative moment. I was like, this is actually like just like stylistic in a way that I feel like is pretty effective.
Honestly, yeah, I didn't know what kind of film I was getting into going into this. I didn't know if it was going to be like purely an homage or like a subversive deconstruction, but honestly, I was fine with both. Whatever it turned out to be, it did turn out to be like more of an homage movie, and I don't know, I was totally fine with that, because I didn't feel like it was just boring or wasn't well made. I really do think that this movie is like really well made, and I know I'm more lenient on horror as a genre as opposed to like Perry. I think he's more critical to horror. I just have fun with it personally, but if a movie is like riddled with cliches or something, I would be more than happy to point it out. But like I have fun with a movie like Sleepaway Camp, and obviously I think X is way better made than Sleepaway Camp, but I enjoy movies like this quite a bit. And one last thing, while watching this movie, I wasn't sure if this movie was like actually shot on film, but it's clearly going for that like film grainy aesthetic, kind of like Tarantino and Death Proof, where he adds more grain. But I don't know, I'm not sure if this was shot digitally.
It was shot digitally.
And they probably added like some graininess in post. If that's the case, that's fine. I'm not like a purist. It didn't take me out of my experience. Didn't take me out of the movie so much.
He actually did the House of the Devil does the same thing, but I think it was shot digitally. But they add film grain in post. But they really play up the film grain in House of the Devil.
I guess I just don't have as good of an eye on that as some people.
I mean, coming from like my perspective, it's like, yes, I'm very critical on horror film, but I don't like to treat the horror genre like it's a lesser genre, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I certainly don't either. I think like the best horror movie, or to me like the best horror movie ever made, is like either The Witch or like Rosemary's Baby. I'm sure I'm gonna get shit for that in the comments.
For me, like I can't really land on one, but I know like The Shining for me is really high up there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, The Shining, definitely high up there.
But like one thing about this film that like I just wish did maybe a little bit better were the jump scares, because there's a handful of jump scares that work, but then there's also a handful on this like,
yeah,
I think there's like 2 or 3 fake jump scares here, and
I think there's 2.
Yeah, there's
they really stuck out because I'm like, oh, I didn't like that. I wish that wasn't in the movie.
It just seems like, I don't know, it's really, really difficult to make a fake jump scare work. Like, jump scares are already kind of difficult to pull off, and then doing fake jump scares, I just feel like it just takes so much, like, it just takes a lot for a filmmaker to make it work. And here there was 2 of them, and they didn't really work. It was really unnecessary for them to be there. But I will say, like, I love how the film, like, I think it was awesome how much time it took to build it, because even though this is like a fun slasher movie, or at least it's in part trying to be that, it doesn't just immediately just give that to the audience. It really demands patience from the audience to kind of build its story, build its characters in a way, and and all that time it's also building tension. And I think it was really awesome the way it did that. There are certain moments where I'm like, okay, here's when the jump scare is going to come, and then nothing happened. So like it was cool to, for this film to also kind of not always go for that, you know, cheap thrill and, you know, actually build some tension in some honest way.
In a lot of ways, I actually think I like the first half of this film more than the second half. Not that I think the second half is like completely irredeemable, but like you said, I just really like the buildup of, you know, the fallout as a little bit more than the fallout itself, even though I really do like the gore and the prosthetics and whatnot. And of course, from like just like an entertainment perspective, like it does deliver on the entertaining, you know, gore and kills and whatnot.
That's another thing I have to compliment this movie about is it's very similarly paced to Texas Chainsaw as well, where like the first half of the movie is like time with characters and like getting to your environment, I guess, and then like the second half is just like completely like filled with horror and not like cutting to like a bunch of like bullshit or just like talking or something. I don't know. It really delivers on giving you as much like horror as you'd expect, at least from me.
And overall, I mean, I personally really like the way that this film is shot and directed. I think it looks really nice, like throughout it. I mean, maybe there are some parts that I think were like, there was like some nighttime scenes in the forest I thought like were a little bit, maybe a little too lit to where it's like, it's not really that believable.
Yeah.
But like overall, I thought like the aesthetics and like the way that a lot of the scenes were captured in terms like of the framing and the lighting were just like really awesome. There's a scene where Mia Goth's character is kind of like floating in the lake, and that overhead shot that was really well framed.
That's such a great scene.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of things about this film that I appreciated and enjoyed, and I think like the biggest compliment that I can give this film is that I truly was like engaged throughout the entire thing, even though some parts like I didn't like that much, or I thought some things could have been done better. Overall, like I was pretty locked in, and it's not even that short of a movie. It's a little over 2 hours. So
was it?
No, it's an hour and 45.
Oh, I thought I thought last week you told me that it was like over 2 hours.
Dude,
something like that.
the Google, their run times are always
Google's always fucking.
Yeah, so when I looked it up on Wikipedia, I was literally like, oh, Carlos, it's only an hour and 45. Google's freaking stupid.
That's right, you did say that too. Well,
yeah.
Never mind that. But either way, regardless, this film, like it doesn't overstay its welcome. It kind of just flies by to me, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I mean, all I can say, like, what to expect when you go into this film. First of all, expect a lot of sexuality. And it's like graphic too. Like, it's because there's a whole element of the plot where they're filming porn, and that's like a big element of the plot. So it goes all the way with it. So just
it's graphic, but it never feels like, I don't know, it doesn't overstay its welcome for me. It's not like it keeps going on and on and on.
Right. It's not like blue is the warmest color where we're going to have 10-minute scenes of just graphics.
Nothing will reach blue is the warmest color except like Caligula.
I mean, like, I guess maybe for us, because we've seen so many movies, like to us, it doesn't seem that long, but I can see somebody who, you know, hasn't seen blue is the warmest color, other movies that have really long sex scenes to find these sex scenes to be kind of long. Because like to me, when I was watching, I'm like, this is going on for kind of a long time. But
I really like those.
But not that it was bad. It's just I didn't expect it for like this long, like to have sex scenes that were this graphic and this long. But it felt like, you know, it was obviously there for a reason. It's not there necessarily to just be like gratuitous or anything.
I'm sorry, I want to nerd about two other things.
Okay.
Kid Cudi actually did a really good job in this movie. I really like his stuff because he's like a frequent collaborator with Kanye West, and I like him there. I don't like him too much as a solo artist, but no, he did a great job in this movie. And also another thing, I was surprised to see on the credits Chelsea Wolfe is credited as being like part of the music for this film, and I'm super in love with Chelsea Wolfe's music, so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the score I thought was pretty dope.
Yeah, I actually really liked the score too. It's funny you mentioned that, Eric, because like I forgot I was watching Kid Cudi.
Me too.
Even though the film doesn't give him like so much to do, like he's not like a Jenny Ortega or Mia Goth in the film. But I mean, I still forgot I was watching Kid Cudi.
Same here.
I like all the characters in the film, if I'm being honest. I really like, one of my favorites was the director who thought like he's making pornography, but he talks about it like, you know, he's Francois Truffaut.
It's so funny. Yeah. There's like a film nerd character in the movie, and like he's a bit of a punching bag, but it's really funny.
He's the one that's basically like directing the porno, and he's like, I'm gonna go for a more like avant-garde angle here, you know, kind of hides the low budget.
I love it when he like explains the plot of Psycho. That was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I actually like that scene.
Yeah. Yeah, damn, I was gonna say something.
The porn producer's so like cartoony, but it kind of in a good way, because it's literally like him doing his best Matthew McConaughey.
Bro, I was gonna say that.
Literally,
it really reminds me of
imagine if Matthew McConaughey was a porn producer, it would be that character.
The whole time I was thinking, I'm like, how awesome would it be if Matthew McConaughey played this role right now? Yeah. That'd be pretty dope. But yeah, like overall, like I think it's an entertaining movie, and I would expect a lot of sexuality, but I would also expect a film that, again, is celebrating the cliches, because obviously this filmmaker loves this genre. This is a film that, like, he's not criticizing. I don't think this is something that's like criticizing a genre. It's more like celebrating it by embracing the cliches, but at the same time attempting to do things a bit differently, but not too differently to where it's like straying far away from the course.
Right.
But if y'all got more to say, y'all can say it, but I am personally ready to get ratings.
I'm ready to get ratings.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so I've already said my piece. I'll give this a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna settle on a strong 8 out of 10.
Ooh,
but
nice.
I know I'm being very generous, but like part of me really wants to give this movie a soft 9, a really soft 9. But that's still like a fantastic rating. Good, just because I love this movie.
Well, I
so
think
much.
it'll give like people that are huge on horror, like horror fans. I think it'll give them,
which
a
is
lot.
me for sure.
Yeah, definitely go see this over something like The Curse, the new Sean Ellis movie.
Yeah.
That movie was bad.
Like, I love horror, but I obviously like I'm not too in love with like the slasher and the like the 80s horror, like, you know, late 70s horror. I'm more into like, you know, the more like subtle slow burn horrors. I know that's kind of like really like pretentious for me to say.
No, it's all good.
But that's just like the horror that it compels me a lot more.
That's another thing I want to say. I get it. Like A24 doesn't, like, they don't go out and shoot the movie, but I really like that A24 like gave this filmmaker like a budget to, or, you know, I don't know if they like produced the movie or whatever, but
the fact that they give this film, like, even regardless, the fact that they gave him a platform and an avenue is like pretty awesome.
yeah, because a lot of A24 movies, I've heard A24 being accused of making too many slow burn, and I do love their slow burn movies, but I think it's really cool that this movie, they made something, Ty West made something new, and with A24, that's different.
Honestly,
I like that.
I didn't think this movie was a slow burn at all. Like,
Yeah, it's
the
not.
pacing is, I think it's actually pretty quick considering, you know, like what it is, it being an homage to 70s horror.
But yeah, strong 8 for now.
I think it's safe to say I like this film the least, but with that being said, I definitely still enjoyed it. I'm gonna give this a decent 6 out of 10.
Nice.
Okay.
So we all enjoyed it to varying degrees. We would all recommend it.
That's crazy. So
Yeah, 6,
7, 8. Eric's nearing a 9.
I know, I almost gave it a 9.
He's edging to a 9. But all right. I guess that's it. What's the next movie we think we're gonna review? Everything Everywhere?
Everything Everywhere is coming out soon.
Next week? Is it?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't want to check on this one.
Well, either way, it's either Everything Everywhere All at Once, or I know this film's coming out in April, like Petite Maman, right?
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I think, is coming out in a couple weeks.
All right, I'll
and
probably
there's
watch
another big one coming out. I think it is Everywhere. What's the title?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, that's a tongue twister
Yeah.
for me.
I'm super excited for that, by the way.
Me too.
So just stay tuned for those reviews whenever they happen, and that's all we gotta say. I hope that y'all really enjoyed what we had to say about X. Please don't forget to give this video a like if you really enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.